If you're looking to build a rabbit cage, this video's for you. A few years ago, I built my first rabbit cage. I was happy with it, but immediately I knew that I could build it better. So I built a second rabbit cage, but again, I knew that I could make it better. In this video, I am going to build and teach you how to build an extremely functional rabbit cage. I'm not an amazing craftsman. I'm just a normal person, and if I can build this rabbit cage, you can too. To build this 3-hole wire rabbit cage, you will need 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire, a pair of good gloves, safety glasses if you don't already wear glasses, wire cutters, J-clips, a J-clipper, needle nose pliers, a grinder, measuring tape, and 1 inch by 2 inch wire. You're also going to need a 3/4 inch piece of electric conduit. They come in 10-foot sections, some stainless steel cable ties, a ponytail holder, hair tie, and a face shield. For your convenience, here's a list of all the tools that are necessary. The first part of this process I'm going to do is cut 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire for the flooring of the pen, and it is my first 1/2 inch by 1 inch 14 gauge wire. This will be the bottom of the pen. Most people building this are going to be using 16 gauge 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire, but I've been excited to try using this wire ever since I heard about it. When unrolling wire, it's good to have something heavy. I've used bricks in the past, but today I'm going to be using these buckets that have dirt in them. I will use the needle nose pliers to help undo this wire, and this is dangerous. The wire will spring open, so wear your gloves, wear closed-toed shoes.
All the packets just have a C on. What is all of these?
Oh, sorry.
Dude.
Okay. 9 feet is right here. After cutting the ends off, it's really important that you also grind down these edges, because they can be extremely sharp. So use a grinder and grind them down until they are nice and smooth. This side, they're nice and smooth, but here they're still sticking out, and I'm gonna have to grind these down. Okay, this side is nicely done, very smooth. I wanted to show you the visual difference between 16 gauge wire and 14 gauge wire. Most rabbit cages are built with 16 gauge, basically what absolutely everyone is using. Every other rabbit cage I have has this as the flooring. So don't feel like you need to have 14 gauge 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire. You do not. I just wanted to show you the visual differences. So I have the 9-foot 1/2 inch by 1 inch by 30 inch deep floor section cut out for my pen. It's 9 feet wide. And now I am going to cut out the back section and front section of my rabbit cage. This will be done with 1 inch by 2 inch wire, 24 inches tall, and I will be cutting 2 pieces. I'm gonna try sticking a board under the wire to give it a little bit of lift off the concrete, so that when I'm cutting it with the grinder, it's just a little bit easier to not bump the concrete, and just to give me a little bit of leeway. My husband took the battery. It won't work without the battery. I'll be back. I'm gonna have to go put my hair in a ponytail.
Why?
I probably should have included ponytails on the list of necessary tools to do this project safely. What I'm doing is just trying to flatten it out as much as possible and get it straight, because after being rolled up it naturally wants to curve. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like if you see the one I have behind me on the ground, it's very much so curving up. But when I have the other pieces on it, that will be held in its proper position very nicely. So a little bit of bending is fine, but if it's pretty drastic, I do try to straighten them out as much as I can. Now, I need to cut out another 9-foot section. When doing the ends, you have to adjust your bucket a little bit, or brick, or whatever it is you're using, to try to make sure that when you cut the wire, it doesn't spring back on you. I usually have my foot on this portion and a bucket or a brick over here to make sure it's held down, so once you cut it enough that these two pieces separate, you don't end up with it springing up and cutting you, because that hurts. Alright, now that I have the front 9-foot portion cut out, I'm going to flip it over and try to straighten it out as much as possible. For this next part, I'm going to cut out 30 inches long, which this wire naturally is, and 24 inches tall. So I'm going to cut 24-inch sections, 2 of them, and file down the edges so they are nice and smooth to be the dividers or partitions for the rabbit cage. And I'm using 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire, so babies can't crawl into another pen, and it's less likely that the rabbits will be able to bite each other through the pins. Most of the time biting's not really an issue for our rabbits, but it's just a little bit of safety protection between the cages. Okay, now that I have 2 of my dividers cut out, the 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire, 30 inches long, 24 inches tall, I'm going to cut out my end pieces, and they will be 1 inch by 2 inch wire.
Again, this red oak.
Yeah.
Is ridiculous.
Alright, at this point I have the back, the bottom, the front, the dividers, and the end pieces. I need 1 panel for the roof, and I will need 3 for the doors. I have the 9-foot roof portion cut out. Now I'm gonna go over it and try to straighten it as much as I can, and we'll be moving on to assembly. Should be fun. Okay, we are now at the assembly process. For this process, you are going to need a J-clipper, and J-clips. You want to fasten them every 5 inches. 1 clip every 5 inches, and you should be good. Don't be shooting arrows at me. Okay, now that I have the back wall J-clipped every 5 inches to the flooring, I am going to use my 1 inch by 2 inch wire to the sides and attach those. Alright, this part's a bit finagly, but I'm going to set the dividers in the cage now, and you just start with one. Every cage in this pen is 3 feet wide, so I've already measured out 3 feet with my measuring tape, and I will attach it at the ends when I'm sure it's in the right spot on each end and on the top, and then I'll just continue from there. Well, that was absolutely one of the most difficult J-clips I've ever had to attach. You may have noticed that I really ran into a problem while trying to J-clip the divider portions to the rabbit cage. And I was asking myself, why am I having this problem? I didn't have such a problem when I did this with my other 2 cages that I built. I figured out the answer, and I believe I have figured out a solution. So the other cages I built were built with 16 gauge floor wire, which is thinner and weaker than this 14 gauge. Which means when I was attaching the J-clips with the J-clipper, even though it was still difficult, I could bend the wires and get it hooked eventually. It was frustrating even then, but this is just not happening. So I've decided to solve this problem simply and quickly. And the solution is stainless steel cable ties. I'm going to use these in place of J-clips to fasten the cage's bottom together for the dividers every 5 inches, just like with the rest of the cage. And I will just clip off the excess and try to make sure that the pointed part is sticking out the bottom of the cage and not inside of it, so a rabbit won't get cut on the metal. Both hands. All right, it's on there. All right, it worked. I am switching back to the J-clip plier things and the J-clips for the back part of this. Oh no! Alright, I have my dividers in and my ends in. Now I'm going to put the front on next. And in case you haven't noticed, it is much easier to work when what you're clipping is either like here on ground level or above. Trying to clip things all along the bottom like this is going to wear you out and cause you a lot of pain that you don't have to go through. So just rotate your cage as needed to get what you need done. I was going to show you, sometimes when you're clipping the clips, it may not clip as you want it to. Like for a couple of these, the clips didn't fold over themselves. They're just like this. So I just added another one and another one until I got the twist around on the clip that I wanted. And if you ever get a J-clip clipped, but it's not on both pieces of wire, which happened a lot when I built my first 2 cages, you can use needle nose pliers to remove them. If it ends up being too much of a hassle, you can just leave it and put another clip in another spot. I've learned to try to be sure it's going to fit before I clip it, but hopefully that helps someone not get super stressed if they're struggling with their clips. I'm going to add the J-clips to the front of the dividers now. I just messed up. You know, I was telling you just a moment ago, I make sure I'm going to be able to clip it with 100% certainty, And here I am with a J-clip, not clipped on both wires. Not cool. So now I've got to get this guy off. Maybe I can use this because I'm a perfectionist. Oh. You're okay. And I got the clip. When I measured the dividers, mine were actually like half an inch bigger than these are really supposed to be. But I took the haircut method, which says you can always take off more, but you can't put it back. So I left that half inch, and I'm gonna see if the lid will work with it. But if I put it on and I feel like the lid's not gonna attach properly or it's gonna cause any issues, I will take off this top row if I have to make it fit properly. The plan is to install a support beam to go across the length of the pin that will support a shelf inside each cage. This will be fun. All right, I believe this is called electric conduit. And you can purchase this from your local hardware store. I got this one from Lowe's, and I think it's about 10 feet. It's longer than the cage, but it obviously won't fit. So what I did is I measured 10 inches up and 10 inches deep because my shelves are going to be 10 inches wide. And I cut out of the 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire a 2-inch section, and then cut the pieces out of the top, so there's a 1-inch hole. Hopefully you understood all that. But I'm gonna make another one so you can see how I do it. Okay, so here I have some 1/2 inch by 1 inch 16 gauge wire, and I'm gonna cut out a 2-inch portion, and it's 1 inch wide. All right, see, I have a 2-inch tall by 1 inch wide portion of this wire. Here's the wire, here's the hole. Yeah, the smaller section will work just fine. So I'm gonna cut that out. All right, now I have the 1 inch portion of this cut out, and this will fit through it wonderfully. So this is going to go on the end piece of the cage so that I can funnel the wire through, and it'll be 10 inches in, 10 inches up. Well, I haven't measured over here to make sure, but it'll be about here, and you just J-clip it to the side. And for the dividers, since I use 1 inch by 1/2 inch wire, I don't have to do this for these. I just have to cut out the right portion. I just measure and make sure it's exactly where I want it. On this, I actually want it to be 9 inches up, but since this is 2-inch wire, it obviously couldn't sit 9 inches up because 9 inches is here. It would fall down to 8, and that wouldn't give me the height I'm looking for. So I'm using this to give me that middle number 9 area, just under 10. And over here, I will measure it with the measuring tape and cut out the pieces so that it just goes right through. All right, so 10 inches in is this row here. 10 inches up is right here, and we want it at the 9. So we'll go down from the 10 right here between the 9 and the 10. Let me make sure this is exactly right. Yes. This should be the piece that I need to cut out right here. Clipping 1, clipping 2. Now we have a hole here, and I should be able to feed that pole through this and the side pin. And now I just have to do this with the second divider over there. I am actually going to grind these down with the grinder just to keep the edges from being super sharp. I don't think this is necessary, but as someone who has been cut by sharp wire too many times, I'm going to go ahead and do it. That probably was not OSHA approved, so do it however you feel safest. All right, let's attach this. This is where I want to attach it. So I got it. Bloop. There it is. I'm gonna attach it on the top first to help make sure it stays in place. Now I'm just going to add a few more J-clips around that so it stays and doesn't wobble. This doesn't have to be J-clipped with a drastic amount of clips or anything, but I'm gonna go ahead and add another one. Actually, I'm gonna add way more J-clips than is needed because I just want it to hold still. I'm definitely overdoing this. So if you don't want to add this many J-clips, you don't have to. This is just me being ridiculous. Ta-da! Okay, why don't you wait here and I will see if I can feed my pipe all the way through, and hopefully I didn't make any improper measurements. Look at that. Look at that. It's just perfect. Okay. That's awesome. All right, now, oh yeah, this has the strength to support the shelves. Now it's time to cut out my shelves. Remember, if you have long hair, trusty ponytail will help make cutting wire much safer. All right, for the shelves, I'm going to cut out this 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire into 11 inches by 3 feet, which is 36 inches. So 11 inches by 3 feet per shelf because it has to fit in there, and I'm gonna bend that extra inch down over around the pole to just try to make sure that there isn't anything sharp that the rabbits could get cut on when they're jumping up on the shelves. I've been using this board to help mark where I need to cut, and it also helps lift the wire up, and that has just been very handy. So if you've got a straight board lying around, you might find that beneficial as well. I feel like the wire is easier to cut when you have one of these straight lines that is you're cutting alongside is on the top, because then the grinder can almost potentially rest right there and not slip around. So if you have the straight side up that you're going to be following, I feel like that just makes grinding easier. So that's why I flipped this over. Okay, so here it's showing me that 3 feet is in between these 1/2 inches. I'm going to do what I did previously, and I'm going to cut a little bit too big, and I will try it, and if it fits, that's great, and if it's too big and I have to cut off that little 1/2 inch, I'll do it. But I'm gonna err on the side of having it be a little bit too big and me need to take some off over the potential of it being too small and me having to cut a whole new piece. I am not very good at measuring things. Like, where am I on the camera? Oh, I'm way down here. With my, like, guessing. My husband, he's good at that. He can look at something and say how many inches or feet or whatever he thinks it is, and he tends to be correct. And I can do that, and I will just be so wrong. So that's why we have measuring tape. I think my grinder is starting to get dull. I'm gonna bend this out and see how it fits. Yeah, I think it's good I went with that little extra, or went a little bigger. This looks like it'll do just great. Okay, so now that I have one piece cut, I'm gonna go ahead and cut 2 more, and then I'll show you how to do the bending of the wire. Okay, now that I have cut out these other 2 shelves, I am going to make sure they fit in the cages, and if they fit properly, then it'll be time to fold down the front parts. Over here it's looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and do the bending of the end inch. one. Two done. Okay, let's go over to my lovely piece of rebar. I'm gonna put these buckets on the end to help keep my rebar from wiggling. Oh, may have made that a little tight. Oh, may have hammered that one in a bit too much. That was pretty snug. I'm gonna have to take off a 1/2 inch and see how it fits. Let's see how we're doing now. I have it in. Maybe this will work out after all. No, I think we're good. I don't think it's necessary to take another 1/2 inch off, so I'm just gonna tap this into place a bit. I'm gonna use the J-clips for the back of this pin and the end of that pin, but I'm gonna use the stainless steel cable ties for where the middle is. Whoa, I got a messed up J-clip. I'm tired. No, I feel like it's bowing a bit on the end. I might have to trim off the edge of this one. Where'd my clippers go? There. See? Shelf's working. Alright, I took off that whole last 1/2 inch of this shelf because it was pushing out the wire too much, but it's alright, looks good. Woo, look at there, okay. I just have to J-clip this little edge over here. I'm starting to get pretty excited. This is turning out really well. I'm gonna grab the cable ties and fasten those to the middle pieces. Hey, I did it. I think I have all of those steel cable ties bent or twisted in such a way that no rabbit could possibly hurt him or herself on them. So we're almost done. This is really going so well. It's taken a really long time because I have 7 children and a baby is one of them. And well, if you have a baby, then you may know that productivity revolves around that baby and whether or not he or she is sleeping. All right, I'm just gonna show you the shelves a little bit. All right, yeah, these are gonna do really well. I don't think there's gonna be any issue whatsoever with sagging. I do not think I need to put a second bar in here in the middle. No, I don't. I think this is gonna work absolutely wonderfully. All right, it is time to put on the top of the cage. I wanted to use 1 inch by 2 inch, but they didn't have that at our local farmers. I'm using 1/2 inch by 1 inch because this was the only 30-inch wire they had available. If you're doing the top of the pin, I recommend 1/2 inch by 2 inch because it's cheaper and you don't need that finer wire on the top. But that's what I have to work with right now, so that's what I'm using. Let's get this top put on. I say let's, but I'm doing all the work. It's all right. I'm sure you're doing your own work on your end, at least in some form or fashion, even if you're not building a rabbit cage. Oh, my bag is broken. That's why my J-clips were falling everywhere. You remember how I said I may have a little bit too much on the top of the dividers? I forgot about that potential issue. So here I am with it being a little too tall. I think I can manage to lift this up a little bit and just clip off that top 1/2 inch on this piece and the next piece. And that's what I'm gonna do. Back to J clipping. This chair is fun. I have J clips all around the top. Now I need to use the cable ties to attach these dividers to the top. I'm using the needle nose pliers to grab the cable ties when I can't reach them. The reason I'm not using zip ties is because a rabbit could easily chew a zip tie and break it.
Oh, you've been outside most of the day.
Yeah. Okay, I finished using the steel cable ties on the dividers on the top. I believe that I have earned myself a much needed break. This is my husband's thermos. I'm almost done. We are almost done. But I still need to cut out the door openings and the J feeder openings. It's still hot. That's so nice. I am going to enjoy this, and then I'm going to go inside and see if my sweet baby is ready for mama. When I have nest boxes in my cages, I want them in the middle of the pens. I don't want my nest boxes on the end because of how I have mine set up. We don't have a barn. I just use tarps. And I want the babies as protected from the elements as possible. So nest boxes for me are always centrally inside the pen, never on the ends. Which means I'm gonna have to put my J feeders on the end of this pen on this side, furthest from the middle. So on this end, and on this side, I'm gonna have to put it on this end. And on this one, it doesn't matter because either way I put the nest box is gonna be away from an edge. I'm gonna cut out the doorway, which is 20 inches wide and 14 inches tall. And I will position it 7 inches in from this side. I'm gonna do mine 2 inches down. So I don't wanna cut this wire that's going straight across, but I will cut right under it. And here, this is where my first cut will be, right here. And I'll bend it out, helps me see it a little bit. And right here, and I'll bend that out. And the reason I am using the wire cutters for this is because I feel like it's way too easy to make a mistake when using a grinder for this. Over here, I'm gonna have 9 inches. Cut this one under the 10th, and this one here where the 9 goes down. All right. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and measure down 14. So we have, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. This is the bottom of the 14. This is the side. And I'll measure over here the same. On the inside and here. And now I just need to cut all these pieces that are in the middle where I've done my lines. Just start at one and work your way around. All right, we have our doorway opening. Ta-da! I cut it out with this, but you absolutely need to use the grinder to grind these down before using the doorway. Go ahead and check and see how this 14-inch tall door fits. I think this will work just fine. Next step I'm gonna do is grind down these sharp edges. Hot metal does not feel good when it goes up your sleeve. Here's our doorway. I just gotta get my door as straight as possible. I think this will do. When J-clipping the door, you don't want your clips as tight as possible. You actually want them a bit loose so it serves as a hinge. I have 2 on, I'm gonna put one in the middle. Okay, the door is attached. Now, I have 2 more to do. Door measurements are 22 by 14 inches. Little safety tip here. Blades have a limited use. If your blade starts getting where it feels like it's really grabbing the wire and trying to pull on it, then you probably need a new blade. This one, it really jumped there, and you can see right here, it's breaking. Like, this is not safe to use anymore. I'm gonna take it off and put a new one on before I continue. And if you aren't already aware that adjustable spanner wrenches exist, you're welcome. This is fabulous. Garbage. Ta-da! I think this is my least favorite part of building the rabbit cage, trying to grind down these metal pieces because they are just so sharp and feeling like I can't see it properly. So I'm gonna rotate the cage right now on its side so I have a different angle to grind them from, and we'll see if that solves this problem. Okay, let's try grinding it now. Sparks are flying, so I'm gonna put on, what's the thing called? Face guard? I want to say helmet, but that's not right. Face shield? I'm gonna put that on. I got you! I'm gonna have to put you somewhere else. You're just bound and determined to hurt yourself. You do better work faster when you feel safe. So if you want to start out with one of these, that'd probably be a good idea. Okay, I gotta clip out the other door. Ah! Okay, obviously a wire cage is not the most secure place for you to sit. I might just have you pop back in after I've cut these out. Oh, look, we got a little buddy. My garden's in the back. I recommend you pay it a visit. I don't want to accidentally squish you. Hey, don't go that way. Where'd you go? Ah, boo, where'd he go? Maybe I can make him walk on a leaf. Yes. There you go. Okay. Elsie here has been itching to J-clip something, so I'm gonna let her J-clip I'm gonna let her J-clip this last door on. All right, Elsie. So I'll show y'all this too. Get your J-clip and J-clipper and squeeze it just a little bit. So you got a lovely little J and it sits in there nicely. Okay, Elsie, hold this. All right, now we're gonna put this right here. Okay, gently put it on there and squeeze it gently so it clips. Perfect J-clip. Good job. Okay, now we are gonna need 2 more. Oh, good one. All right, we're gonna do 1 more in the middle. What we have left to do is cut out wire space for the J feeders. Oh. You're gonna get stuck. No, I don't want you to get stuck in there. I don't want to have to damage my new cages. She's trying to get in the cage. Oh, look, she succeeded.
Yes.
Is it comfortable?
I think we should get some fluffing on the back.
Fluffing?
Yeah.
No,
Rabbits.
rabbits have built-in fluffing. It's called fur.
Can
All
I
right.
sit on this?
J-feeder cutouts
Mommy, can I sit on this?
is next.
This.
Does anyone else feel like they constantly lose their measuring tape? Like, where does it even go? It's like it has legs and it runs off. And yes, I know they're technically, if I'm not mistaken, called tape measures, but I grew up calling them measuring tape, and I shall continue to do so. I don't know where the little one went. I had a little yellow one, and I don't know where it is. Oh, hey, I found it. I did not put it here. This J feeder is gonna go over here. A J feeder measures approximately 7 inches across. It appears to be a little bit over 7 inches. It needs to hook right here, so I can't cut it further this way. It'll be 4 inches tall, 8 inches wide for my little J feeder here. Oh no! I dropped my wire cutters. Okay, got them. All right, J feeder, moment of truth. Yeah, it fits. J feeder is attached. A rabbit's not gonna fit through here. Now I have to do that to 2 more compartments, and I'll come back to update you after that. All right, you remember how I said it doesn't matter about this gap right here? That is technically still true, but I have found a way to get rid of it. With a 4-inch long piece of 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire, we can hopefully, oh so conveniently, J-clip this in place. Now we have no gap. Isn't that fabulous? I am so excited. Little things like this just make my heart happy. Okay, I'm gonna do that for the other J feeder slots, and if you want, you can do that for your rabbit cage too. The next step towards finishing this rabbit cage is to put 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire around the bottom 2 inches of the front and sides of the pen, so that any baby rabbits that happen to get out of the nest box before they're supposed to cannot fall out on the ground. I am gonna not record that because I'm just gonna try to get through it real quick, and I'll show you the pieces when I'm done. As a quick tip, I am using scrap 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire to do this. I don't have any 9-foot sections at the moment, and I'm not going to buy some. So I'm going to be using pieces like this that are leftovers, and I'm just going to cut as many 2-inch wide sections as I can, as quick as I can, trimming off the edges so that I can piece these together to go around this pin. It's a lovely day to finish the perfect rabbit cage. Okay, I'm going to be using my 2-inch tall wire around the bottom 2 inches of the rabbit cages to serve as baby saver wire to keep all little baby rabbits inside the pen where they cannot fall out if they happen to escape the nest box as little babies. So let's go. When attaching the baby saver wire around the border of your pen, you do not have to do the every 5 inches because this is not weight bearing or anything. You just want it secure so that it's not bending up in any areas so a baby couldn't potentially push through it. So I've got one piece right here, one here. I'm gonna try to find a way to attach this maybe a little more securely, but you don't have to do the every 5 inch method with this. You just want it on so it stays. That's it. Just wanted to show you that the order of the wire here is not the same as up here, and it really doesn't matter as long as the measurements are good and it will cover the space. The spacing is still 1/2 inch by 1 inch, and a baby isn't going to get out of it, whether it's vertical or horizontal. Since I was working with scraps, I was making do with what I had.
Don't get struck by lightning.
It's not lightning yet. Uh-oh. Well, it is now raining harder and thundering since I'm working on a wire cage, you know, metal. My husband told me not to get struck by lightning. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my things in the house for a moment and get back to it in a little bit when the rain and thunder let up. I may look ridiculous, but I haven't heard it thunder in a while, and this will help me stay a little bit more dry. So I've got you a little umbrella. It's a board, and I'm gonna try to finish up this rabbit cage. It's positively pleasant right now. Okay, I have the baby saver wire all finished all the way around the pin. I'm gonna trim off the excess from those poles, and then I'm gonna make a wire attachment piece to go over both sides, one over here, one over there, and that will serve to help make sure the pole can't slide out. To save me from having to cut it twice, I'm gonna whack it with the mallet until there's only 1 inch sticking out on this side, and then I will only have to cut the other side once because this side will already be 1 inch. All right, let's see. Perfect. Before I cut the end off of the other side, I'm going to make the little wire fastener piece for this side. That's what I'm gonna try. 4 inches wide by 2 inches tall. 4 by 2. Let's see if this fits. Okay, the cage is still sideways, but I'm gonna put this so that the middle is on the pole. Doing this 4 inches by 2 inches means I can attach it right here, as well as down here, and of course down here on the bottom side. So it should not go anywhere. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that is secure. This is not going anywhere. Neither is that pole. Now I just have to do the same thing for the other side, and I'm gonna have to cut it. I'm being honest when I say that went a whole lot better than I expected. That part was really easy. All right, time to cut out another 4 by 2 inch piece of 1/2 inch by 1 inch wire. All right, let's see. Bend it some more. And that is that. What I'm making now is latches to hold the door open when I want it to. It's just a simple little hook that has a catch on the end. It hooks pretty easily, and if I want it to release, I just pull it and it'll fall right down. So now I just have to squeeze this into place so that it won't slip off, because right now I can slip it on. I'm gonna try to squeeze it a little bit. It's hooked. So now the top piece is hooked. It's not gonna slip out, and I can easily latch that for convenient door security staying open. Okay, I've got one more to do. Got it. This measures about 1.5 inches, and it's a little difficult to work with, so if you wanted to make it 2 inches, that would probably be a little bit easier. Yeah, it's 1.5 inches. 2 inches would probably be more easy to work with. I recommend you going with that instead of dealing with the hassle that I am currently dealing with. But I am far too willing to deal with hassle and make something that I think is really good. So I do like the idea of these being really small. Not that 1/2 inch is gonna cause any issues. Twist it. There we go. That's a pretty good tight circle there. And twist. I think that turned out pretty well. Let's see how it fits. About here is the middle. There we go. I just need to squeeze this in place and this one will be done. Okay. Now I have convenient door holding hooks on every pin. And there's only one thing left to do, technically speaking, as far as construction of this pin goes. I'm gonna try to show you how to make a wire cage latch really quickly. So I have about 8 inches of wire here. I'm gonna measure 2 inches, and that is where I'm gonna bend my first bend. So I'm gonna grab this with my pliers real tight. You know that piece of electric conduit we bent off a while ago? I'm gonna use this to wrap around it. So I put the conduit between my knees, and I'm just going to bend this wire around this until it's pointing back up the other direction. Like so. Now I'm going to take the pliers and I'm going to bend it about 1/2 inch down. So we have our pliers here. I'm grabbing it and I'm trying to make a really straight bend over here. Like this. Okay. And this could be straightened up a little bit. Now, I'm gonna set this on my cage where I'll put the door to see how it's fitting. And it looks like it's doing pretty good. I need to angle it a little bit. This takes a little bit of adjusting, but it's worth it. I think somehow I got my thing backwards. Yeah, I did. What did I do? Okay, so we have our little L over here. It's about 1/2 inch. There was a 2-inch stretch there, here. And we wrapped it around the conduit to make our circle. Now, I will J-clip this right here. And I will J-clip this loop right there on the back side so it's up against the pin. And I will use the needle nose pliers to bend down this top piece so it gives us a good hook. And it's gonna take a little bit of adjusting, but it will work. So here's one that I finished. See, it goes up, comes back. It's easy to latch in place and it is secure. And there's one over here also. I can unhook it. A little easier with 2 hands, but there. And now it's secure. So hopefully this helps you make your own. Naomi?
Yes.
I love you.
Hello. Hello.
I'm gonna have to figure out what I'm doing with this next part before I tell it to you. You gotta see this.